Okay, um, I haven't done one of these videos in a while, but I figure I should do something now that I have something visually to demonstrate. Um, I I've been setting up so many things that deal with infrastructure and architecture and just different things that now I'm getting to the actual tools to support the main underlying project that I'm trying to create. And one of the first tools to come out of this is the error log. And pretty much what I have is a LAMP setup, Linux, Apache. Well, usually it's MySQL, but this time it's MariaDB as well as PHP. And PHP actually reports errors to an error log, but I have since attached some handlers to catch both errors and exceptions and log them straight to the database. And I have done this on multiple websites that support this main project, including the errors website as well. All right, so that's what we're seeing. We're seeing all the errors that happened while I was actually programming some of this stuff. Um, yeah, and you can see I can actually search for keywords. So I can search for argument. Um, number one. So I have argument number one. Um, the other thing I can do is I can actually type in key phrases. So instead of must be, which matches this must match, I can say must be in quotes, and all of a sudden that one must match is gone. Uh, Everything's highlighted of where the search terms are found. I can click on the individual errors, and the highlighting persists there as well. Um, the grid is actually set up in a way to um, try and convey as much information as possible. It's about trying to get as much of the message to be displayed as possible. So everything else is truncated for the most part, and the message can actually expand compared to all the other fields. That's probably why the ellipses is gone, but I'm not sure. I need to figure out why my ellipses are not showing up. Okay. So you'll see these icons here. This was my attempt to try and get something that can represent the application that the error occurred in visually with a minimal amount of space taken up as possible. Just showing the first two or three letters would not convey enough information about which app it was. Excuse me. And I figured that over time I would get used to these icons of which icons represented what. But basically, what happens is I take the text of the application, run a SHA-256 hash over it, and then I start reading 12-bit numbers one after another from that computed hash, and create an integer, run a modulus of 360, and I take that value as the hue for the cell. So each of these cells is a 12-bit number converted to a hue. And that's pretty much what happens. I might change things around later on so that you can add custom Unicode emojis or something. But I just needed something to represent the app in a quick way that I didn't have to think past too hard, I guess. I don't know. The types are just Unicode emoji that I picked up and assigned. The colors next to the dates just let me know what the day of the week that the date falls on. Paths, I I line them right to left as the text, so that I could truncate them with ellipses on the left, because the most important part of a path is, ta-da, it's file name. So we've got file names highlighted, and usually the parent folder is also fairly important, but if you go too far up, it's not as important as in context of what you're looking for. And then the other thing is, you'll notice a count next to these. I consolidate my errors. I had the unfortunate experience of having a 950 megabyte file generated during an infinite loop. And that could have easily been represented with just like 1 kilobyte of data in a database. So yeah, that's part of what I was focusing on there. I can change my page size. Let's get rid of the search terms. You'll notice the routes change up here, but I can navigate my pages. It looks like I need a spinner icon of some sort so that I know, hey, information is loading. Yeah, that was horrible. Let's change that back to 25. I can look up errors. I can see stack traces. I can see all the dates that the error happened, how many times the error happened within a date range. If the date happens, there's actually a start date and an end date. If the start and end date match, then it says, hey, it's instant. I think number 3 might be the one to look at. Yeah. So this guy has some that are like 7 seconds in duration, 2 seconds. And then I have the relative date timeline is another interesting aspect that I added, just trying to see if there's patterns of when things occur. Yeah, it's very sporadic. And the size of the dots represent how many occurrences happened relative to the other dates in that list. So if I change this to 100, all of a sudden we've got a lot more. Looks like it went away for a while and then it came back. So kind of cool stuff. Just you know, any bit of information that could give me context is pretty much there. Let's see. I've set up 2-factor authentication. I can actually change my username and password. I need to change that username to something else by default, but I actually validate the one-time password token in the client before I actually send it over to the server, and then the server validates it as well before it actually commits it to the database. This number is cryptographically randomized with Web Crypto API with their random bytes. So if you see this 42SN, if you close this, go back, all of a sudden it's a different number. But yeah, I can enable and disable it. If I log out, I can enter in my credentials, and there we go. 2-factor authentication is required. It'll actually lock out your account for like a few minutes if you keep putting in the wrong credentials. So yeah, that's about it. There's also the error viewer. Can I actually, let me see this. API view. Okay, so this actually goes into the physical log file on the file system, and it parses the logs as JSON. And basically, what's happening is, can I size equals 1? Okay, so basically, what I was trying to handle is those large log files. So if I have a 950 megabyte file, I can't open that in memory. However, I can create a file pointer or a resource and jump to a specific offset and start reading until the next carriage returns. So that's what's happening here. Is you'll see this instead of telling me how many pages there are or what page I'm on, it's telling me where the next offset is. So it's saying the next offset is at 265. And if I say offset equals 265, all of a sudden it's giving me the next record, and now it says, hey, there's nothing left. The next offset is 0. Well, that was good for viewing, and that's where I started this whole application with, is just viewing the file. But how do I get this into the database? And then that's the next part, where I now have this transfer script that pretty much just uses the same code, but it actually transfers into the database. So it says, hey, I read this file, transferred 2 files, and there's nothing left. If there was anything more, it would give me a different offset. So if I go here again, it deleted the file because it reached the end. If I go here, the view, it's not reading anything. It has no log files. And then if I go back here, you know, it would have been really good if I recalled what the error was, so I can actually look it up and show you that it did get imported. All I can say is I know it got imported. I just can't. I'll have to look back at the video to see what the data said when I did that. Yeah, but that's about it. So this was done in Angular. I've not dealt with Angular since 2015 and 2016 with Angular 1, and that was on a project that was combining both React and Angular, because Angular was too slow on the UI, and this was there before I got there. So I was like, okay, I'll work with it. And React was used, and I think it was 12 at the time. It went to 13 while I was working on the project because it broke a lot of stuff. But I only learned half of Angular. I didn't learn anything with the GUI. And Angular 2 came along afterwards, and I had been focused on React pretty heavily afterwards in my career, so I haven't had much experience with it. And for a non-critical small application, I felt like this was a great stepping stone into it. I know a lot more. I know that I don't know enough, but I know a lot about it. I'm going to probably use it with the next project as well, which is going to be a secrets manager. Yeah, but it's working out pretty well so far. Okay, that's about it. Bye.